Greetings, my friend. Matt Schifferly back again with another video to help you be fit and live free. And today we are looking at the science and psychology behind motivation. It's motivation, that emotional lifeblood upon which your success and your quality of life actually rests, especially when it comes to health and fitness. And why when it comes to diet and exercise, many people are using entirely the wrong source for motivation. See, those who study human behavior have long understood that motivation comes from primarily two sources. Humans are motivated to either avoid pain or bad situations or things that they don't like, or the pursuit of pleasure and the things that are good and the things that they do like. And both of them have their pros and their cons. The classic examples, of course, is that our ancient ancestors were avoiding saber-toothed tigers that were trying to attack them and have them for dinner. So we had motivation to run away or to fight off predators. And of course, we have the motivation to find food and enjoy our lives and procreate and have social bonding and all that sort of thing. But when it comes to the motivation to eat well and exercise and stuff, those who struggle with fitness tend to over-rely on basically negative emotional sources, and those who succeed focus more on positive. And here's why. See, avoidance motivation, it makes more sense as a clear present threat. And many of us come into fitness with the threat of various things we want to avoid. We don't want to be fat, we don't want to be sick, we don't want to be unhealthy, we don't want to be weak or skinny or whatever your big threat is. What is your big fear? A lot of us come into fitness saying, okay, I want to avoid that thing. But there are a lot of issues that come with that. The first of which is that whenever you're fearful of a negative outcome, you're coming at it a bit more from an emotional foundation, which means that you're going to believe anything that comes across your desk that just makes sense, regardless of any degree of scientific validity. So if you're like, yeah, I'm afraid of getting skinny and weak and not being able to get a girlfriend, and also I don't want to get fat and stuff, and a coworker just like, just don't eat sugar and do 100 push-ups a day. It doesn't matter if there's not a shred of scientific validity to it. You're just gonna be like, sounds good to me. So you start doing push-ups, you actually get a little stronger, build a little muscle, you cut back on your 5-a-day Snickers habit or whatever, and you're like, I'm feeling better, I'm losing a little weight, I can see my abs a little better. Bang, that's what gets you. It's like you get a little bit more and you're like, good, I'm getting away from the threat, and that kind of entices you at first, but the long game is where things go awry. Because when it comes to perceived threats, human physiology and psychology goes through a number of things. We got adrenaline, we got cortisol, we got a rapid heartbeat, we got all sorts of stress and tunnel vision focus in our brain and stuff. We get a lot of stuff that happens when we need to get away from a hungry saber-toothed tiger. But when we have persistent threats that just never let up, like obesity or being skinny or weak or unattractive or whatever, those threats are there every single day, and we are not well equipped to handle persistent chronic threats like that, which means that instead of giving us a temporary boost to get us out of danger, we have this chronic, suppressive, damaging reaction that just beats us down perpetually. And so because of that, we're adopting habits and beliefs that don't actually remove those threats. They just keep them at arm's length. They just say, okay, I'm not afraid of gaining body fat or being skinny as long as I do my 100 push-ups and avoid sugar. But any sorts of habits or routine is something that is impossible to perpetually follow without any breaks or interruptions. And so when those things inevitably do happen, the threat can start to overwhelm us. And now we get caught in this idea of the tiger is perpetually attacking me. The best I can do is just keep running endlessly until I'm exhausted and collapse, and either let the tiger eat me, or I'm just always exhausted and tired and there's no way out. Because you're always just gonna do the bare minimum to keep things at bay. And so what that does is, at the end of the day, you're like, okay, good, I survived another day. That's your best possible outcome. You're not gonna win, You're not going to get the body you want. You're not going to get the success you want. There is no happy ending here. There's no way this is good. It's going to be a constant drain and compromise on your mind, body, and lifestyle, because the very best you can hope for is to just keep whatever threat is at bay perpetually as you just keep getting drained and exhausted. And not only do you still have the threats coming at you, but you even become more resentful of the habits themselves, just because you're like, well, why am I doing this? The best I can do is just not get eaten by the proverbial tiger. So I have to do my 100 push-ups a day, which now I hate doing. I have to keep sugar away from me, which I'd rather not do as well. So now this whole fitness journey is just basically like being in a dead-end job that you absolutely hate to go to, but you feel you have to in order to pay your bills and keep food on the table. This is certainly a very viable source of motivation, especially when things are legitimately going wrong. But remember, our human psychology can't tell the difference between a legitimate threat and just a perceived threat. You could have no more threat of getting sick with cancer than anyone else, but if you have the perceived threat that it's going to happen, your brain can't tell the difference between that and an actual tiger in the woods hunting you down. So that's why it causes such a visceral reaction to our mind and body in such a negative way. But when we have a broken wrist, or we have something that's actually a threat, like we're walking down the street and someone is kind of coming up to us and we start feeling like this is not a good situation to be in, that's a real good thing that you should be motivated to get out of. But the key is that it's a real danger or real threat that's true, and it's one that is going to be very temporary, not necessarily an imaginary one that's chronic and something that you will never get out of. The solution then is, instead of always fighting off the tiger and avoiding the things you don't want, it's more practical and beneficial to focus on the enjoyment and the benefit or the pursuit of good things. So that way your habits enhance your mind, body, and lifestyle rather than perpetually compromising it. That's why my approaches here, RDP, and in my latest book, are not about here's how you don't get fat, here's how you don't get sick, and here's how you don't get weak and whatever. Instead, it's the pursuit of good things. When you are pursuing strength and muscle and health and vitality and a satisfying and healthy diet, not only do you now actually get the results you want, but it's more fulfilling and rewarding and enjoyable, so it builds you up rather than breaks you down. Plus, when you're actually pursuing good things, you realize that you don't necessarily need to avoid the bad things, you're just naturally leaving them in the dust. So the question to ask yourself when it comes to your diet and exercise habits and your lifestyle in general is, are you doing these things in the pursuit of good things or the avoidance of bad things? And it can be both, of course. You can have a mixture of the two. But the more you pursue the good things, the less you need to worry about the bad things. The less you need to avoid and fight off those proverbial tigers, because you're going after the things that are actually going to get you results, that are actually beneficial, the things that, again, are building you up rather than constantly breaking you down. And I know the fear can have a way of gripping the mind and the imagination. So it's not exactly like it's a quick switch over, but just tuning your attention towards, I'm eating these healthy, nutrient-dense foods for these benefits. I'm working out because it brings me these benefits and these things that I'm going in the pursuit of. The more you're gonna find that these things are no longer even a threat. So you don't have to run away from the tiger because you're running after actually the tiger in the pursuit of prey, right? Plus, you're also basing things on much more logical, scientific validity too. You're not just gonna follow things just, well, I guess that makes sense, or that sounds okay to me. Now it's like, okay, what's the actual reason why I can get stronger and healthier and get the results that I want? You're more thinking with your prefrontal cortex in this case, rather than the panicky lizard brain that's just running you ragged. Pursue that which you want, my friends. Pursue good things. Go after that which benefits you. These simple mindset shifts can radically change your source of motivation, and as a result, all of your habits and the actual outcomes, from stressed and avoidant to enjoyment, reward, and success. Love to hear your thoughts down below. Best of luck in your workouts this week. As always, be fit and live free.